think at one of my events down here, we talked a lot about the transformation that we were working on in West Virginia to help our people thrive, to lift up our standard of living, to grow our workforce, and to do the kind of tough things that quite frankly haven't been done before. Work on the fundamentals, not just put a press release out and say everything is A-OK. Because the truth is you have to be honest with people about where you start in order to get the support of where you need to go. And that's what we're doing. So today, obviously, I'm here to talk about our Rural Health Transformation Program. But this is one piece of many initiatives that we're working on to really lift our state up and to have an economic revival, a comeback that is sorely, sorely needed here in the Mountain State. And it'd be remiss of me if I don't point out that we had some great news yesterday. People may know that there was an announcement of 1.2 gigawatts of new power for the state. That's powerful. That hasn't happened before, just like that. But that's in part because of our 50 by 50 energy plan that we announced. That we're talking about getting a lot more energy production and power capacity going forward. There's legislation we passed. I want to thank the legislature. But for some of the moves we did in terms of our licensing reciprocity, our one-stop shopping, cutting red tape, our data center bill, we wouldn't be in a position to kind of take advantage of some of the opportunities that we have out there. It's an incredible thing. And so momentum is building in the Mountain State. And that's why I'm so happy to be here today and talk about another big needle mover. Now, you see, we talked about growing the economy in our state and building on economic strength. But I also have said we have challenges to overcome. West Virginia has the worst workforce participation rate in the nation. We know that, right? But what's causing that? Obviously, we have an older population that limits some of the workforce. But the principal reason behind it has been that we have the highest disability incident rate in America. Think about that for a minute. Well, how do you address high disability rates and chronic diseases? You have to focus on improving healthcare outcomes, right? And the wonderful thing about the cycle is if you are successful in improving healthcare outcomes, treating diabetes more effectively, COPD, substance use disorder. If you're effective in treating those, what happens is you have more people who can go back into the workforce. Healthier people work more, are more productive. Then when that happens, that strengthens the economy. That lifts up the standard of living. And then it's a cycle. If you have a stronger economy and a larger workforce, what does that do? It makes it even easier to improve healthcare outcomes. So what we're trying to do is change the cycle that was not helping us and turn it around so that we're driving our state forward economically, lifting our healthcare measures up, moving the needle, and we're going to see corresponding returns for our people. Ultimately, the work we're doing is designed to drive affordability with our citizens and accessibility for healthcare. And that's critically important. So addressing the healthcare challenges will lead to direct returns in terms of our workforce. That's the simple message that we're here to talk a little bit about today. And it's exciting. And Mercer County, you're going to get to participate in that. All the southern counties are going to get to participate. You know, I know that the South, doesn't end at Beckley, as Frank Brady and I always talked about. I'm trying to get down to all of the counties. We've been to every southern county and quite a few times over the last year. But I want people to know that if we're successful, even modestly, in improving these healthcare outcomes, there's a corresponding benefit in workforce. And that creates a wonderful cycle of new life and opportunity. So I'm going to get into some of the details behind rural health transformation, but that's the vision behind this. And it shouldn't be a controversial vision. I'm pleased to say that the rural health transformation application we sent in, we've received enormous support from over 40 different healthcare groups, from the House leadership, from the Senate leadership. A lot of people stepping up and saying, yes, this is good, because it has the opportunity to be a needle mover. And that's what we need in West Virginia, not just thumping our chest about all the great things we're doing, but things that actually leave our state in a better place and put ourselves in a position where we're better able to compete and defeat all the states that we touch. That's the plan, and that's what we're working on. Now, we know that rural health transformation is critical. I don't need to walk through every statistic of the challenges we have. Chronic disease runs rampant in West Virginia, and that has to stop. Obesity, diabetes, COPD, asthma, substance abuse. Talked about neonatal abstinence syndrome. There are a lot of things we could talk about. Congestive heart failure, hypertension. These are areas where we're at the bottom of the ranking and we need to go up. So what do? Well, we have to address a lot of the root causes that are driving that. So what we did is we put together a plan to meet the statute's goal of engaging in prevention up front to get people healthier in order to save money at the back end. And this is President Trump's vision, RFK and Dr. Oz, that their goal is to, for the first time, and I think all of our memories or lifetime, they're putting a massive amount of resources on the table to get people healthier up front in order to save public expenditures at the back end. Pretty straightforward and common sense concept from my perspective, and I think probably from yours as well. So while a lot of people are talking about all these changes and cuts and so forth, the big beautiful bill, here's our focus. We have a chance, a unique opportunity here in West Virginia to leverage dollars proactively and address things and get out in front of the problems. The Rural Transformation Grant ensures that if we're successful, West Virginia will get a minimum of $500 million over a 5-year period to address the improvement in rural healthcare outcomes. Now that money could be more. Now that the application's in, I can promise you I get to go to work and I get to make my best efforts and my best request to CMS and HHS, because I think West Virginia has a great story to tell, right? We have a chance to show if ever there's a state that would benefit from improvement in rural healthcare outcomes to stimulate economic strength, it would be West Virginia, right? Of course. So that's the story we're going to tell, because if we could succeed, that's a great model for America as well. So that's what gets me fired up to come here this morning to talk to you about. Our applications focusing on affordability, you're going to hear that a lot, and accountability, and that creation of a even larger and more productive workforce. Simple ideas, but they're grounded in personal responsibility, and we're stepping up to help in ways that you haven't seen before. Let me talk about a couple things. One, earlier this year we announced 4 pillars of healthcare. We talked about getting the crap out of the food. There's a lot of nonsense in our food, right? And I think as people started to read about some of those dyes and the things in the processed foods, people said that people are waking up to that. We were able to work with the legislature to begin changing some of that. That's good. We were able to put in place, and we're the first in the country that called for SNAP waiver, and so that you're no longer entitled to soda as part of SNAP. That's important. We also were one of the first to call for work requirements for Medicaid and SNAP, because work is good, work is moral, and we need more work in West Virginia. We're doing that. We also stepped up and said that we need to have more exercise, more movement in West Virginia. That makes a big difference. And famously, you may know that I had an appearance with RFK, and RFK issued a challenge to me, and we had planned before that, and we announced the Mountaineer Mile. And I want to report to you today that not only have I walked the Mountaineer Mile every single day without exception since March 29th. We've been averaging over 12,000 steps per day. That's pretty good. That's led to a reduction in 12 pounds personally. I know I have a lot more to go, and I know I'm not perfect. I'm always going to be honest. And it's been hard, by the way. It's hard. Yesterday I was on the road for about 12, 13 hours. It's not easy when you're traveling around. And West Virginians know that, right? West Virginians have to traverse long distances for their jobs. It may say 15 miles, but you know when you go through our hills and hollers, that takes a lot longer, right? So we know that, how difficult it is. But we're making progress, and that's important. You're going to see that weight loss and movement is an important part of our application. That's really exciting stuff. So our application focuses on the core issues we need to get our people healthier. What are those? Well, one, we call it connected care. We're looking to make sure that we're taking health care and bringing it to the people, or having the providers come directly to the people, right? Move people to the healthcare access, right? Or move the healthcare access directly to the people. Telehealth. That's a big piece of this equation. We're going to be investing a lot out of telehealth, and I think that's going to be helpful. We're going to work with the hospitals. We're going to work with federally qualified health centers. We're going to work with departments of health. We're going to work with clinics. We're going to work with schools, and there'll be better opportunity, more access for people than exists today. Very, very positive, okay? Second, rural mobility. I just mentioned the fact that we have to go through hills and hollers to get there, that 15 miles in West Virginia might take a bit longer than if you're in Montana and you're driving down one interstate, right, where you can drive 90 miles an hour to get there. And we love all our states, right? I've been talking with other governors about this. We're going to find ways to partner with them. That's going to be positive. But we need to improve rural mobility, and this application will do that, creating a on-site board that people are going to be able to access to improve their ability to access public transportation, ride shares, to be able to get to the healthcare entity of their choice. We're working on that. That's going to be very, very positive, so that people get to go to the healthcare choices they have, and they can't say, well, we don't have the ability to take them there. Transportation issues have been identified as a very significant issue in West Virginia. And why do we know that? Because we had a very transparent, positive process. We've received over 3,000 pages worth of ideas. I mean, over 200 submissions. We called for a public review, and people gave it to us. We had 3 large stakeholder meetings. I did a teletown hall where we had 17,000 people participate in some form or another. I took a lot of questions. I'm trying to listen and learn. But transportation was another piece of this. Then we get to the next piece. I alluded to it up front. Get used to the words recruit, retain, and retrain. Recruit, retain, retrain. That's important. We need to grow our healthcare workforce. Our Mountaineer Care Force model that we put into this application is designed to facilitate a lot of the existing institutions that are trying to recruit to get maybe primary care docs in, to improve, to get a number of nurses in, to address some of the shortages that we have. Pharmacists, lab techs, specialists. We're working on that, and we need to make that happen. Recruit, retain, retrain. West Virginia is going to have incentives that will allow people to stay in our state, starting at the high schools, working in the technical colleges, working in the schools, building on some of the strength. We have some really talented people in the Higher Education Policy Commission. We're working with them as well. We want to let every young West Virginian know you're going to have a great job opportunity available. And not just in healthcare, but in a lot of other areas as well. Yesterday's announcement that I referenced, the 1.2 gigawatts, they said that could be over 3,200 jobs. These are good paying jobs. So we want to rely on our technical colleges and our universities to produce the homegrown talent that's going to make a difference. But we also have to become a much better net migration state to grow our population, right? If we don't grow, we're going to die. We must grow, period. And that is part of what we're focusing on here with our Mountaineer Care Force. Then we need to have value, better value in terms of the payment systems within our state. Value-based care. That matters. We need to make sure that prices are lower for providers, but for consumers as well. And so we have to help some of our healthcare system with strategic investments in shared services, bring technology up to bear to make a difference from a healthcare perspective. A lot of these people have not, a lot of the entities we've had have struggled with resources to invest in the up-to-date technologies. We need to modernize and then have shared savings where they get benefits of the new technology and the new tools we're providing, but then the benefit passes down to consumers as well. Value-based care is going to be a critical piece of this effort. And then, of course, we have to ensure that we're making progress in terms of the underlying technology decisions and rewarding entities that are innovating. This is important. We have to think about the future. Before we submitted our application, I had a chance to spend a little bit of time with the O School, with Marshall, with WVU. They're all working on really innovative things. I spent a little bit of time up at R&I, up at WVU. Some of the work they're doing in terms of the treatment of substance use disorder is world class. All the efforts they have to kind of impact how the brain reacts to various stimulus, unbelievable. Some of the work being done in Marshall and in the O School can be really difference makers. Well, what if we could develop products and then ultimately commercialize those products? There's an opportunity to do that within this application that we've submitted. That's incredible because it's not only going to help from a healthcare treatment perspective, it gives us the ability to build new economic strength. Some of these products could be patented, and then we could have manufacturing opportunities arise. Very, very good and positive things. And then we get to, last but not certainly least, we are really focusing on what we call a healthcare accelerator. And what is a healthcare accelerator? We're trying to empower our citizens to actually improve their own health. I mentioned this earlier in terms of emphasizing movement, but it goes way beyond that. It's using food as medicine, and it's also looking at ways to encourage people to move a bit more. And maybe we can take that movement and exercise concept a little bit further. Bring back the presidential fitness test. Be rigorous about it. I plan to ask the legislature to do that next year. I think it's a great thing. Using food as medicine, recognizing the importance of what you're putting in the body impacts how you feel and the prevalence of various disease states. And then that movement challenge I talk about, maybe schools competing against other schools, counties competing against other counties for various incentives to get people to walk and exercise a little more. All very, very positive things. And that's what we're working to do. There's a lot in this application, and I think it represents a huge opportunity for West Virginia. But it wasn't done just by the governor's office. We elicited a lot of support, and I'm grateful for all the participation. When you get to have thousands of pages of material, and I read most of it, there's a lot of really good ideas that people are working on in West Virginia. So I'm excited that we're able to take the best ideas, put them together, and now we get to go to work and push even more, hopefully to get that application approved. And I want to thank the federal delegation and everyone. I mentioned the House and Senate, and we brought different people in, but the House delegation, that makes a big difference. The Senate, everyone. I think there are a lot of people very enthusiastic about what we're trying to do. But I'm going to go back to the beginning. When you improve chronic healthcare conditions and people's health, you get people healthier, they are more likely to work. They are much more likely to be productive. Larger workforce, more productive workforce. What happens then? Stronger economy, higher standard of living. What happens then? Feed it back into healthcare. Better healthcare more ability to invest in those outcomes, and all the things we know help people be stronger in the head and the heart. I'll tell you what, these are good common sense ideas, and that's what we're putting forth. But we need to keep getting the word out. We're leaving with you a summary of a document. I know there's a lot of material in there. We're working with CMS about when the document's going to get publicized, because this is a normal grant process. But at some point, that document will be public, and we want to share that with you. But in the meantime, you have the summary, and we want you to get this out far and wide. Every West Virginian can benefit from this. And this is part of our broader strategy to lift our state up. It's pretty cool. It's consistent with what we've been trying to do. I've said all along, improving workforce participation is the number one challenge we have as a state, period. And we're working on that every single day. Don't let some of these people say otherwise. Let's keep focused. Every day we're trying to improve our economy, but we're doing it through all the levers that will make our economy strong. Healthcare, healthier people make a big difference in making that happen. So, very grateful to be here today and brief you on what's going on. I get to the point where I'm sure my team doesn't like it. I'm not really reading the notes anymore, but we spent a little bit of time on this application. And I also want to thank everyone who contributed on our team externally. It was a great product, and it made a real difference. So, very happy to be down here. What I'd like to do now is ask if the media has any questions. Any questions from the media? And where are you from, if you can?
Governor Charles Owens, Bluefield Daily Telegraph.
Hey, Charles, good to see you.
Good to see you. Just a couple of quick questions. Do you have any timeline as far as when you expect to learn of the application's approval?
Good question.
And are there any specific examples of the 500 million in terms of the deep South counties, Mercer and County, specific examples of how we could help the deep South counties?
Sure, a couple things. First of all, CMS has indicated that they plan to make decisions on the application by the end of the year. And it's their goal that they would want money to start flowing and for this to move forward beginning in January. So one of the things I have to do is I have to work with the legislature as well, that they're going to have an opportunity to have an approval of the authorization of the application we submitted to be eligible to spend the money. That's how the constitutional process works. Obviously, this was a very unusual process because we had a limited amount of time to get this thing moving. But we have to go through and do that. There's going to be I would imagine there'll be a vote in early January, because if we don't get a positive vote on our application, then we won't get any of the money. But we've tried to work collaboratively with people up front and be positive, and I'm hopeful. I think that the process we used, we believe that a lot of people share these same values and these same systems, so it shouldn't be controversial. So that's the first part of your question. The second part is, there are going to be a lot of opportunities across the board to help Southern West Virginia. I mentioned a few, the rural mobility. Talk about that. There are going to be a lot of people that benefit in the southern coal fields and in Mercer County, just being able to better access healthcare providers and telehealth, right? That's a big plus. Creating these hubs, that's one area. We know that the area to use food as nutrition, that's a statewide program. That's going to be very, very positive. The value-based healthcare, that's going to apply to all healthcare institutions in the state. The ability to help with technology, the ability to facilitate telehealth. These are all statewide initiatives, so that's going to be a big plus. But I know that Southern West Virginia does have unique transportation issues. Once again, I use that example. You may be 15 miles away. It might take you 35 minutes, 40 minutes to get there. And we are aware of that. And we thought about that. And we studied a lot of the challenging healthcare statistics in Southern West Virginia, which we know need to be addressed. And so I think this is going to be very positive for Southern West Virginia. And that's why I wanted to come. I spent some time up north yesterday. I announced it on Wednesday, and I wanted to make sure I came down here because we're going to be going all over the state, making sure people know because this is very important. Any other media questions? No? Everyone good? Yeah, go ahead.
A little off topic, but yesterday, your comment on Facebook, inviting residents of Virginia to.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Heading to West Virginia. You're not far from the state line border here in Bluefield. Got quite a response on Facebook. And also yesterday, I believe Senator Chris Rose introduced a resolution inviting 27 Southwest Virginia counties to join West Virginia.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, when voters make choices, they make choices. And I think that West Virginia is going to be very well positioned to attract a lot of people to our state because folks are going to see the differences between the states. West Virginia is a state that's advancing freedom. West Virginia is a state that's going to be very friendly from a business perspective, not advancing woke causes. I think if people want to move to a state that they know is on the rise, that's really advancing its comeback story, it's going to be West Virginia. So yes, we encourage people to come in to our state from Virginia and many other states. If you're looking for a land of opportunity, West Virginia is it. I think the things we're doing, working with the legislature and the work we're doing in the executive branch are going to help West Virginia really grow and soar. And so it's a land of opportunity. And when other states make decisions from an electoral perspective, which may move in a bad direction, people should know that there are opportunities for them personally to experience the renaissance of West Virginia. That's what we're working to do. So I encourage everyone watching, looking at the two Virginias, you say, West Virginia's coming, and we're moving forward, and we're going to be needle movers on all the things that matter to make West Virginia so attractive for you to live, to work, and to play. Come to West Virginia, and I would argue, I'm a good example of this, I came to West Virginia to visit many, many, many years ago. I used to hike in Harper's Ferry on the Appalachian Trail, right? That's how I got exposed to West Virginia, through tourism. And we've got the best, tourism. We've got a great tourism head, but we do a lot of great things in that area, right? Well, I came and I used to visit for many, many years. And ultimately, I was so struck by the beauty of West Virginia, I moved to the state. I think there are going to be a lot of people that get attracted to the beauty of our state, but now begin to see, oh, look at what West Virginia is doing to grow and to be much stronger. So yes, if you're across the state line, you're going to watch West Virginia grow. You're going to watch that comeback story, and you should be part of it. And I would urge everyone to do that. And you know that you're not going to have to worry about a woke legislature or a woke governor. I think West Virginia's got it going. Any other questions to the media? Well, sounds good. What do you guys think? Fired up? All right. Guys, thank you, and I'll come around and say hello to you. Good to see you. Appreciate it.